Hey everyone, this is Daniel Armour, CEO of 2012 Pictures. Just about an hour ago on comingsoon.net via The Hollywood Reporter, it was announced that Warner Brothers is considering, if not already developing, a reboot to The Matrix. Now, whether that means a essentially a remake of the first film or just a continuation of what's come before, they didn't make clear. What it did make clear was that the Wachowskis probably wouldn't have too much to do with it. They're looking for their blessing more so than their active involvement. Joe Silver also wouldn't be involved because he sold off his stake in all of the films he produced in 2012, I think. So really, you would be looking at a reboot with none of the original people, creative people involved behind the camera, at least in terms of like writing, producing, or whatever. And they're saying that also they're eyeing Michael B. Jordan to possibly star in it. First of all, I'm not surprised by the fact that there's a Matrix reboot coming. I've kind of been probably like a madman talking about them doing one on my Facebook page since about 4 years ago. And particularly after The Force Awakens and Jurassic World came out, I was like, yeah, they're going to be announcing a Matrix reboot soon. I mean, come on. I mean, it's an economics thing. The Matrix, the first one at least, was a pretty popular film. So why wouldn't you want to capitalize on that? Especially since nostalgia is a big thing now. Why wouldn't you want to capitalize on that with The Matrix? Also, there's been enough distance between the sequels. I think people might be ready for more installments. In terms of the direction they're going with, if they're doing a remake, like a straight out remake of the first Matrix, I'm gonna lean towards a negative reaction to that. There's certain benefits to doing a remake of the Matrix. For one thing, the first Matrix isn't a perfect movie. I mean, there's things with like the Trinity Neo romance that could use little bit more fleshing out. Also, if you do a remake of the Matrix, you could obviously do the sequels over and do entirely different stories that would be more popular than what we got with Reloaded and the Revolutions. And also, I mean, for people like me, I was 13 when the first Matrix came out. So people like me who are now like in our 30s might scream bloody murder at the possibility that there might be a remake of the Matrix. But the Matrix came out in 1999. We're in 2017, so the Matrix is almost 20 years old. That means there's a whole generation of kids or people that probably haven't seen the Matrix. Some of them were probably babies when the first Matrix came out. Some of them probably weren't even born until after the sequels came out. So there's definitely an opportunity with a remake to introduce the world, a whole new generation, to the Matrix. So I can see the benefits of it in that sense. But to me, sitting there and having to watch Neo figure out that he's the one again just seems so pointless. Truth be told, if they do a Matrix reboot, no matter what, you're gonna have another chosen one or the one. You just kind of have to. But to see that exact same story play out again, for a lot of us older people, would just be too redundant. If you do a new story, I think people might be willing to give it a chance. Now, in terms of doing a new story, one that's connected to the original three movies, but is set far enough apart from them that they can do their own thing, I think that'd be much more preferable. You can have a new cast of characters. You can do new things with special effects, new things with bullet time, even newer things with other types of visual effects. Although I don't know where you go now. I mean, I think like realistic human beings is like the final frontier for visual effects. So I don't know what else these filmmakers, whoever gets to direct it and craft this story, can do in terms of the visual aspects of it. The downside of doing a continuation of the sequel trilogy is that it's been 18 going on 20 years since the first Matrix. You have a whole generation that doesn't know what the Matrix is. Oh God, the irony of that statement. So doing a continuation of the first trilogy, people would be like, well, I have no emotional connection to that. At least the newer generation would have no emotional connection to that. So you'd really be limiting them in that sense. So, oh man, um, there's a lot of ways this could go wrong. There's a lot of ways this could go wrong. I mean, you kind of damned if you do, if you damned if you don't. I mean, you do remake. There's things that could go wrong. You could alienate the core audience, the people that are big fans of the original movie and the original trilogy. You do a reboot or a continuation of that original trilogy, you alienate people that have never seen the first Matrix. But I do feel like doing a reboot or a continuation is a safer bet, simply because you won't piss off your core fan base. You need that core fan base to have some box office potential. Getting out of whether or not you should do a remake, straight out remake, or just do a continuation and reboot it that way, is the Wachowskis' involvement. Personally, I'm okay with them not being involved in it. I mean, the fact of the matter is, their best movie was the first Matrix, and again, that was 18 years ago. The Matrix sequels I thought were fine for what they were, but huge letdowns in terms of the quality of the first movie. And yeah, it's Speed Racer, which some people like it, I don't. Cloud Atlas was alright, but even then, you had someone else as a director with them, so who knows who did what. And then Jupiter Ascending was all them, and it was terrible. So I really don't have much faith in Wachowskis as writers and directors. And I couldn't make it past maybe 5 minutes of Sense8. My best friend swears by that show, but I couldn't make it past the first 5 minutes of the first episode. So I'm just not excited by their involvement in anything anymore. So even if they don't give their blessing, I'm not going to be too upset that they're not involved. But if they have some ideas and they work with Warner Brothers, and they give the Warner Brothers some ideas, and then a writer comes in, and then they hire a different director, I'm cool with that too. I do want, however, the people like Bill Pope, who did the cinematography and the production is everybody that did the production design, the visual effects. I want them to come back, because I felt like the visuals of the Matrix really need to be, if no matter which way they go, they need to be consistent with what came before. Particularly if they do a continuation of the first trilogy and have the what goes after as a soft reboot. They do need to have some consistency visually. So I think those people need to be brought back. Stunt coordinators, costume designers, Bill Pope doing cinematography. Those people need to be brought back. As for and in the article, again, it's the Hollywood Reporter coming soon. If you haven't seen it, they're saying that they're interested in Michael B. Jordan to be possibly starring in it. And Michael B. Jordan is a really good actor, so I would be down for that. I just don't want him to have to play Neo. I'd rather he be able to play a new main character. He could definitely be the main character. The man has charisma to spare. But I don't want him to have to follow up what Keanu Reeves did, because people are going to be judging that. Also, again, he's going to get the heat that he got for playing Johnny Storm. Like, oh, why did they have to make him black? Why did they have to do that? So I'd rather they just have a new character for him to play, so they can avoid that. And in terms of my excitement for it, I think the Matrix has been gone a pretty long while. I would say, honestly, if this was even 5 years ago, I would say I'm not that excited. But now, if I'm thinking about it, it would be kind of cool to see the Matrix in 3D or IMAX. I mean, it'd be crazy to see bullet time in 3D. That'd be cool. And whatever new things they come up with. As for directors, right now, the only people I don't want directing this movie are Zack Snyder, Michael Bay, and Christopher Nolan. I know he wouldn't. But I love Christopher Nolan, but he would be wrong for this. And he did Inception, so it would be weird. But keep Zack Snyder and Michael Bay away from this as far as you can. Anyway, that's just my opinion on this news of the Matrix reboot. If you like this video, comment and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And I will talk to you guys later or when there's more news. Peace.